There is an epidemic happening in men today. Weakness and comfort has taken place of strength and purpose. Masculinity is labeled as toxic, and women are now the ones who define what a man is more than men are. Weak fathers are raising lost boys who are at risk of never being initiated into manhood. We've grown farther and farther from God, which led us to become weaker and weaker. The man within fights back by introducing men to their true strength and purpose through God. So join me, and together we can restore true strength and purpose in men. Hey guys, welcome back to the Man Within podcast. I am so excited to have you on today. We are talking about a message that is near and dear to my heart, one that I have personal experience with, and one that I've internally struggled and battled with for a long time, but God bless. He's given me a lot of clarity behind it. He's given me a lot of strength to make the right decisions and wisdom as well, which it's no question. I've been praying for strength and wisdom. So here we go. Topic today is one that I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there have dealt with, and at least 80% of the population has asked, because I say that number because generally speaking, at least 80% of people want to start their own business. They want to work for themselves, and they want that life of freedom. And the way that they want to get there is through God and through purpose and through something that gives them meaning. They don't want a cap or a limit as to what they can achieve. So the question that I'm really going to be covering today is, should I quit my job? Before we get into it, I just want to disclose a couple things. Number one, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not equipped. I'm not licensed as a financial advisor. So please don't come back to me and say, hey, Cameron told me to quit my job and now I have a bunch of debt. No, that's not what this is. Number two, I have experience in this realm. I have experience, like I said, internally struggling with this question. I have experience losing jobs. I have experience working a job that I just absolutely was miserable in. And now I have experience doing what I love and having a lot of fulfillment in that thing, even though there's a lot of risk and no guaranteed income. So that's where I'm coming from. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get rolling right into it. One thing that I've learned when it comes to purpose and direction and clarity in life is that whatever you do, there has to be a reason for why you're doing it. So when you look at your job, is it aligned with what you want? Is it meaningful to you? Is there purpose behind it? What's the end goal with your job? There has to be an A and a B to everything in your life, to everything that you do. What is the point B in your job? Does your job help you get there? And look, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't even know how you got on the path that you're on, maybe your purpose is to just figure that out. But either way, how is that job helping you get there? Are you learning from it? Are you taking away? What are you taking out of your job? Is it just for finances? Is it for educational reasons? Is it just something you thought was fun and you wanted to try something different? What is the main purpose for your job, and what is the end goal? Can you see yourself being there in 5 years or 10 years? What do you get after that time? Bottom line, is that job going to help you get to the life that you've always dreamed of? Is it going to help you stay on that path, or get on the path, or pursue God's purpose for you? Now, if the answer to that question is no, this job is not going to get me to my dream life, I want you to evaluate a couple things. Number one, how did you get in the position that you're in? What is it about that job that you wanted? It's probably money. Maybe it's just something to do, but either way, when you made the decision to get that job, it probably wasn't aligned to the goal that you want, or maybe your goal changed and your job helped you get there. And number two, it's time to find something new. And we're going to talk about this more in the rest of the episode, but maybe what you want to do isn't work a job. Maybe you need something that allows you to learn differently. Maybe you need more risk. Maybe you need some uncapped potential. Maybe you need to go off on your own, and 100%, maybe what you need to do is listen and have more faith in God. And let's take a second to ask ourselves, why are we even asking this question? Why are we asking the question, should I quit? Should I leave my job? Should I move on to something different? Well, the fact that you're asking that question means you are unfulfilled in some way. If you 100% knew what you wanted to do, if you 100% loved it, doesn't matter how hard it gets, doesn't matter what the struggle is, you would stay committed to that thing. So if there's any part of you that wants to get out, there's probably a good chance that you need to get out. Now, there's a difference between having things being difficult and making excuses and not having accountability. Look, if you sign that contract, work that job, you have to fulfill your duty in that contract until you exit appropriately. Now, when I say that, how you enter something and how you exit something are equally as important. We don't want to burn any bridges. We don't want to cause any unnecessary conflicts, and we don't need to ruin our own reputation because we made a decision when we were angry and emotional. So just because things get hard, that doesn't mean you need to quit. Sometimes God puts you on a difficult path that you really, really do not want to be on. And your main purpose is to commit to that, have faith, and eventually learn what it is that God intended for you to learn. Now, how do you know if it's time for you to quit your job? How do you know if your needs are not being met? That's not a question I can directly answer for you. That's a conversation you need to be having with God. Now, I can tell you in my own experience, working a job that you hate for years makes you more and more miserable day in and day out. And for me, in my experience, if you're like me and you want to do your own thing, you know that you were made for more. You don't want a cap to your potential. Working a job like that, something that you can't fully commit to, it just takes more and more out of you. You get to a point where you just hate waking up because you know you have to go back to that same hell day in and day out. And no matter how nice your coworkers are, no matter your relationships, no matter how much your company wants to say that you're a family, nothing can ever make you fall in love with that job. And that was true in my life. So what I started doing was trying to find new avenues, trying to find and open new doors. I was trying to find what was meaningful to me, and I was opening doors like this one. The Man Within started as a hobby, and now it is what it is. Now it's something that I can fully commit to. And that's a big difference that I want to touch on. If your heart isn't 100% into something, you can't 100% commit. So when you're at this job that you hate, you're not 100% committed to it. You're not even 5 or 10% committed to it, which means there's a lot left on the table. There's a lot more to do. Imagine going back in time to your high school days and you had a chance to win the championship. And for whatever reason, the last play, you only went 50%. And because of that lack of effort, let's say you were on defense, you were the last line of defense, and you were running 50%. And because of that, the opposing team got a touchdown and you lost. How would you feel? For the rest of your life, you would be thinking about that, saying, gosh, what if I had just given 100%? So the reward of not committing 100% is shame, regret, guilt, confusion, anxiety, anger directed at yourself. Those are not rewards that you are willing to handle. Those are not rewards that you are capable of carrying around with you for the rest of your life, and you shouldn't. As a man, you were not designed to only go 50%. You weren't designed to use 50% of your strength. God made you strong so you could use 100% of your strength, so you could be 100% committed to something, and you can make 100% difference in your life, the lives of those around you, your community, and even the world. But I can tell you as a man and from experience, if you don't put 100% of yourself into something, if you don't have something to commit to 100%, if you're leaving even a little bit of yourself on the table, it will eat you alive day in and day out because you're fighting against yourself. You're fighting against your true nature. You have fight in you. That's why you have this strength. You have this warrior spirit that needs to be let loose, and it needs to be able to commit to something 100%. It's that warrior spirit that wakes you up in the morning. It's that warrior spirit that doesn't flee, doesn't get scared of conflict. It's that warrior spirit that says, I am going to do this, I can do it, and I don't care what the hell is in my way. But I'm telling you right now, you leave just a little bit of yourself on the table, that warrior spirit is going to fight you 100% with everything it has. And it might be scary, it might be painful, but it is for your own good. Life is scary. It's not always going to be comfortable. You as a man were not designed to live a life of comfort. None of us were. God never promised us a life of ease. In fact, he says countless times in the Bible to be strong. And there is a reason for that. Now, speaking of God and strength, God gives us as men the tools we need to pursue God's path that he has made for us. Not only is he going to show us the path, he's going to give us the tools we need to get there, which means it's all on God's plan. It's all on God's timeline, which also means God's going to put you where he needs you, whether you like it or not. And oftentimes we experience a lot of internal friction and internal battle because we want to go our own way and God wants us to go his way. That's the number one battle that people are facing, is their way versus God's way. And I can tell you also from experience, 100% of the time, when I go my own way, those times that I was separated apart from God, I was rewarded with those things earlier. I was lost, confused, lonely, angry at myself. I wasn't committing 100%. I had an internal battle. I had a lot of problems that I didn't know how to face, and I wasn't made, and we weren't made to face those on our own. But as soon as I started going God's way, even if it was weird to the world, and here's a tip, if it sounds crazy to the world, it's probably right, because the world is crazy. But even if those things seem crazy, that path that I was on, I'm telling you, God rewards you with true, honest rewards, the one that you want, like joy, peace, fulfillment, long-lasting, authentic relationships, even income, strength, wisdom, all good things that are 100% good. There's no mistake about it. So if you choose to continue to go down your own path, God's going to give you some friction. He's going to put you where he needs you when he needs you. Meaning, if you're experiencing a lot of internal battle, for one thing, if you know what it is that you want to do, if you know what God is calling you to do, if you're clear about that, if God has spoken to you, and even if you're not clear exactly what it is, God's trying to make a big move in your life. And maybe this job isn't the right thing for you. But one thing is for sure, that the longer you entertain what's not for you, the longer you delay what is. So don't put God's word off to the side. Don't delay what he has in store for you, because I promise it's 1,000 times better than where you're at right now. It blows your mind every time. Now, if you are clear about what you want to do, if you have that side business that you've been working on, if God has spoken to you and you are 100% clear, if you know what your gifts are, if you know the tools and resources that God has given you, and you're still not going on that path, it's because fear is blocking you. You're allowing fear and worry to win. And as long as you're willing to allow fear and doubt to win, you are allowing yourself to stay in that cycle, to stay in that miserable life, to stay in the so-called comfort zone. But if you're in that cycle, you know just as well as I do that comfort kills. And God didn't design us to live in comfort. God didn't design man to be comfortable 100% of the time. So if you're fighting that and you're fighting God, there's going to be a lot of friction. And until you're willing to step into your warrior spirit and get through that fear and have faith and trust God, you're never going to experience what God has in store for you, or that true love, or that true fulfillment, or that life that you desire, and the life that God has set aside for you. So if you do know what you want to do, I say go for it. You need to understand that if you do scary things, even if you fail, you're still alive. And if you are alive, if there is breath in your lungs, there is purpose for your life. And you might be thinking, oh, well, I don't have a job, I don't have income. The worst case scenario is getting another job. But stop thinking about the worst case scenario. And I can tell you again from experience, when you commit fully to what you love, Nothing is more fulfilling than that. Nothing is more fulfilling than staying on God's path and having that faith. And I'd rather be poor in worldly standards and rich in God than to be rich in the world and separated from God. So just go for it. You will learn a lot. You will learn so much about yourself. You will grow way more than any job could ever grow you. And at the same time, you'll be willing to go through that. You'll be doing a heck of a lot more work, but you'll be 100% committed. And as we talked about earlier, that warrior spirit wants you to commit 100% because you are a man, because God's given you this great strength, this incredible tool of this warrior spirit. Because you have that, you can achieve anything. You can achieve way more than your wildest dreams because that's what God wants for you. That's what God created for you. Find something that you can commit 100% to and don't let fear win. Unfortunately, we have this belief, we have this culture in our society today where everything is determined by your resume, by standardized tests, by things of that nature. And we usually just believe, generally speaking, that the only thing you can put on your resume is a job. It's if you're without a job, it's, oh, I need a job, I need a job, I need a job. Stop thinking about it like that. Think of it as I need purpose, direction, and income. Purpose, direction, and income. And to go back to my first point, don't be looking for a job out of fear. Look for a job because of purpose. And it doesn't even have to be a job. Like I said, it's a source of income. And you should never, ever, ever rely on just a job as your only source of income. Whatever you do, you need to find another way to generate income. That doesn't necessarily need to be tied or attached to your purpose. But what's your backup plan? What's the backup plan with your job? Again, to go back to your first point, when you're working a job, especially at a really big company, you are disposable. You are just a number. As hard as that is to hear, no matter the relationships you've made, no matter how much your boss wants to say that you are important and you're a part of the family, you are a number. It is a corporation. It will drop you just as soon as it needs to without making a second thought. And even if you've been there for 10, 20 years, it'll be like you were never there. I've heard countless stories of people working a place for years and years, committing as much as they possibly could into that company just to be dropped. And unfortunately, again, in our culture today, it's buy a house, buy a car, get yourself in more debts. Again, another number, your credit score. And all of that is linked to one source of income, which is your job. I mean, what a metaphor that is. You lose your job, you lose your life. But if you're working for yourself, if you're working for God's purpose, you don't lose that job. You don't lose your life. You continue to build yourself. You continue to build your life. And not only is it meaningful and purposeful to you, you're glorifying God, which is our whole purpose in life. And no matter how rough it gets, no matter how hard the day is, that is a job you can never lose. So guys, don't commit to something or someone that is not committed to you. A job is a relationship. And just like with a relationship, if someone is not 100% committed to you, if they're not fulfilling your needs, that is a sign to walk away from that relationship. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. You get one life. You get one chance to show your faithfulness, your duty, your abiding in God. You get one chance on this ride. You get one chance in this world. And you know who else knows and understands that more than anyone is God. And no matter what this culture wants to have you believe, you were not meant to slave your life away in a job that you hate. You were not meant to work 40 years for some company who does not know you or respect you to just maybe get to enjoy a few years at the end of your life. When you're 60 or 70 and you're old and now you're at that age, you're tired. You don't even want to travel. You don't want to explore. You don't want to view the world. You don't want to see all the beauty that God has created. I mean, God created this world, this life for us. So, yes, it is difficult. Yes, there's struggle, but He also created a lot of beautiful things for us to enjoy, like relationships, like the beauty of natural landmarks, the reward, the pride, the fulfillment that comes from enduring the struggle that God knows we're going to go through. There is a lot of beauty in embracing all the struggle and the pain and the difficulty that God has put on our path. There's a lot of amazement and beauty in receiving that reward that God has for us. And when you're working a job, you're not just working it when you're in the office. You're working outside of it too, because you're thinking about it. And if it's your only source of income, you're going to be thinking and stressing about it even more. If you have one source of income, you are committed to that. You are more dedicated to that than you are yourself. And a lot of us today, we have this problem. We are just addicted to a paycheck. But what that really means is that we are addicted to comfort. We told ourselves that there is a way to get the good life, the easy life, and that's the life that we want to live. But if you think about it, what does that even mean? When you want that life of comfort and ease, what does that look like? If everything is so perfect and easy, let's think about it. Okay, you don't have to worry about money. You don't have any bills. You don't have to worry about your body. You can eat whatever you want to eat. You don't have to exercise. All of your relationships are perfect. There's never any conflicts. It's always sunny wherever you're at. You don't have to worry about traffic. You don't have to worry about anything. Now, when you think about that life, not only is it not realistic, it's really not a life that you want to live. It's definitely not a life that I want to live because, by definition, because we're human, we are not perfect. We're always searching for a way to make things more perfect. But that is impossible. And a lot of people, they put off their happiness until they get to a place where things are perfect. So what does that mean? They're never allowing themselves to be happy when in reality, happiness is found when you're not looking for it. Happiness is found when you make that choice to be happy no matter the struggle. Guys, all of these imperfections, this is the human experience. You don't want to go your whole life being a human without experiencing what it means to be a human. And being human means being on this consistent and continuous pursuit of growth. And that's something you need to commit to 100%. So instead of being addicted to a job, instead of being addicted to comfort, instead of being addicted to a paycheck, first of all, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Well, that one thing is comfort, and that comfort is slowly killing you. And I've experienced that in my own life. Things were very comfortable for me, but I can't give 100% of myself into an addiction. And I can't give 100% of myself into a job that just makes me absolutely miserable. And neither can you. And all that being said, you're still committed to that paycheck. You're still committed to that job. If you would just commit to yourself, your own growth, the way you do your job, the way you do that paycheck, you would be absolutely unstoppable. And that is what you are made to be. That is what you are made to do. Guys, there is so much good that comes out of taking that risk, putting your full faith in God, and committing 100% to those things that are meaningful to you, to the path that God has put you on. There is no joy or fulfillment or peace or love at the end of the road to comfort. In fact, you get the absolute opposite of those things. If you pursue the path of comfort, if you pursue the path of an easy life, you're not rewarded with peace and joy and love and fulfillment. You're rewarded with unfulfillment. You're rewarded with stress, anxiety, anger, self-loathing, lifelong regret, and confusion. But guys, it is much more fulfilling to endure the struggle and work for God than it is to be addicted to a paycheck. There's so many blessings waiting for you on the other side. It's not as scary as you think it is, and you're a lot closer than you think you are. And like I said, if you would just be willing to commit to yourself for 6 months or a year, in 5 years, your life could be completely different. But think about the alternative. In 5 years working at your job, where is that going to put you? If you're smart and you're good with your money, which most people aren't, and I can tell you from experience, if you're addicted to that paycheck and you want that life of comfort and you're stuck in that cultural mindset where you got to buy, and you live in the world where you're trying to one up everyone else, odds are you're probably not going to be very good with that money. But if you get a job right now, knowing full well what the purpose of that is, you know what that point B is, you know where your direction is, then you could be setting yourself up for success in the next 5 years. That being said, if your goal is to exit that job in 5 years, you got to be putting a lot of work in on the side. So think about it. You have two paths. You can scrimp and save and work a job and try to start your business on the side and see where you get in 5 years. Or you can struggle and commit yourself 100% to your purpose, to your business, and see where you get in 5 years. Either way, the path is going to be hard. And I'm telling you, if there is meaning to your path, if there's purpose, if you know what it is, why you want it, and you're able to commit 100% to that thing, nothing will get in your way. So if you've been struggling with the question, should I quit my job? Odds are you're not committed to it 100%. Because if you're committed to something 100%, you wouldn't think twice. You say, you know what? Today's hard, tomorrow's hard, and every day for the next 10 years is going to be hard. But I love it because this is what I want to do. This is who I am, and no one and nothing is going to stand in my way. Now, if you can't say that about what you're doing right now, here's your sign to change. Now, listen, I know it's risky and I know it's scary, but I'm telling you, everything you want is on the other side of fear. Everything you want is on the other side of pain and risk and discomfort. And I'm telling you, it is so fulfilling. I'd much rather be poor in the world and rich in God every day of the week, because success without fulfillment is the greatest tragedy. And the last thing I want to do is work something I hate. That's, you might have made millions of dollars in a job, but if you hate that job, what's the point of that? Who are you spending all of that success with? Are you ever really successful? What are you going to say, or what is God going to say to you when you get to his doorstep? Imagine he shows a picture of who you were made to be. And imagine you were not that man. And I know it's really easy to just think, well, God's going to love me no matter what. So YOLO, let's live this party lifestyle. Let's just have fun. Let's express ourselves and just let's get the most out of life that we possibly can by doing whatever it is that we want. Well, anyone that goes down that road tells you at the end of it, they always want something more, because the treasures on earth are worth nothing in the kingdom of heaven. So if you have this comfy job, let's say you do make a lot of money and you're still unfulfilled, you're still afraid. Guys, the bigger the paycheck, the deeper the addiction. And look, if you worked really hard, if you got a difficult degree, and you're making a lot of money in a job, I say, look, good for you. You've done something worth being proud of. And you have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of good in this world. If this is you, if you're making a lot of money in a job that you don't really like, if you know you have a bigger, a deeper, a more meaningful calling, what I would do is, for one thing, figure out what is meaningful to you. If you have this expendable income, try some different things. Get a certificate in something else. Join some clubs. Go travel. You have a lot of opportunity to find what you love, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to find it in serving some way. Number two, when you found that thing that you love, when you found the thing that you want to do, give yourself a number and a timeline. What will it actually cost and how long will it take me to get there? If you think it's going to take you 6 months to start something and get it off the ground, save up enough to live and support that business for at least a year, because it always takes twice as long and it's twice expensive as what you anticipate it being. Now, if you are making a lot of money, if you do have that comfy job, like I said, it's scary. The bigger the paycheck, the deeper the addiction. There's a lot of risk. And I know exactly how it feels to go from having a comfy life where you don't really have to worry about too much. And I also understand how unfulfilling that is. I understand how you get to a place where you start to hate yourself because you have this internal battle and the warrior spirit is calling you to get out. So I know exactly how that feels. I know exactly what it's like. And I know exactly how it feels to go from that comfy lifestyle down to a very humbling situation. But I also know how it feels to go from being rich and unfulfilled in the world to being rich in God and poor in the world. I also know from experience that if you can commit 100% of yourself into something, you will grow much faster than any job will allow you to grow. Now, that being said, God loves humble beginnings. Don't be afraid to humble yourself. In fact, it says clearly in the Bible, those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. God blesses those who are willing to have faith in Him and delay gratification. They're willing to embrace the struggle and stay on God's path for them faithfully. It's pretty clear in all of the stories in the Bible that God is a God of delayed gratification. He doesn't reward you immediately. He doesn't reward you exactly in the way that you want. And that is a very good thing because anything that's worth any value takes a lot of time and effort. So if you receive something instantly, if you had to put zero time and effort into it, how valuable is that thing going to be? How much are you going to treasure it? If you don't have any skin in the game, you're going to forget about it and not treat it seriously. God works in very mysterious ways, and one of those ways is to not reward us immediately, not reward us exactly with what we want right away. If we ask for something, He doesn't give it to us directly. He gives us a way to get stronger so that we can become the person we need to become in order to have that things. If we can prove that we can be faithful, if we can prove that we can be responsible with a small amount that He gives us, if He gives us a small battle and we can get through that, He'll reward us with the tools that we need to get to the next level. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to be humble. Just as you have to be willing to be coached and mentored by someone on earth, you have to be willing to be coached and mentored by God, who can reward you and bless you with more than anything this world has to offer. Now, with great power, with great reward comes a lot of responsibility. And like I said, on this earth, you're not guaranteed a life of comfort. In fact, Jesus said it's going to be difficult, especially if you're living a godly life, you're going to be persecuted. That's why men, we need the strength. We need to let this warrior spirit do what it does. We need to be willing to commit. We can't let fear and weakness and pain gets in front of us, get the best of us any longer. That's why you need to strengthen that relationship with God, figure out what that path is, get clarity on that, and commit to that 100%. Because no matter how much control of yourself, of your own life you think you have in this world, if you think you have complete control of the path that you are on, you need to think again. Take a good look at where you are headed. And if that path is not toward God, you better prepare yourself to be humbled because it's coming one way or another. It's not coming on your time, it's coming on God's time. So I'm just going to leave you with this. If you've been struggling with the question, should I quit my job? Figure out, where are you headed? What's your direction? What's the end goal with that job? What have you been committed to? Are you committed to it 100%? Do you know what it is that you'd be willing to commit to 100%? Do you know what's meaningful to you? Do you have a way or a plan to go find that thing? And if you already know what that thing is, if you already know what is meaningful and purposeful for you, if you have heard, if you have spoken to God about it, do you know what you need? Do you know the resources? Do you know the timeline? What is the direction? And if you haven't committed to it yet, why haven't you committed to it? What are the obstacles in the way? What are you afraid of? How can you conquer those things? When will you conquer those things? And lastly, if you're worried about work, God always has a job for you. And if you stay on that path, if you commit to it, if you remain faithful, God has told us that He will provide for us in every way. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you did gain some value from it, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you can always stay up to date on the newest videos. Thank you for supporting the mission to make men strong again, and I'll see you in the next one.